Dobro. History. Archive.
All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about one single day back in 2010 when a war that was supposed to be frozen for more than half a century suddenly became brutally, terrifyingly hot. This is the story of the bombardment of Yeonpyeong Island. So here's the one thing you have to get right from the start. The Korean War, well, it didn't really end. There was no peace treaty, just an armistice, a ceasefire. Think of it like a frozen conflict, and on this day, the ice didn't just crack, it shattered. And where did this all go down? On Yeonpyeong Island. Now, to get a picture of this in your head, imagine you're standing on the coast of Maryland, and you can see an island just a few miles offshore that belongs to a hostile foreign power. That's Yeonpyeong. It's this tiny South Korean outpost, practically within shouting distance of North Korea. To really understand how this happened, we've got to look at the incredibly tense geography of this place, a landscape pretty much defined by this war on pause. Okay, so this line in the water, this is really at the heart of the problem. After the armistice, the UN just drew this maritime border, the Northern Limit Line, or NLL. But here's the thing, North Korea has never, not once, accepted it. They claim those waters, the waters right around Yeonpyeong, are theirs. So this disputed line is a constant source of tension. And that tension has led to actual fire more than once. Just look at this timeline. You've got naval battles in '99 and 2002. Then fast forward to just 8 months before our story. The South Korean warship Chonan is sunk nearby. 46 sailors are killed. An international investigation points the finger directly at a North Korean submarine. So you can imagine the tension here was already at a boiling point. Which brings us right to the day itself, and the event that North Korea claimed was its justification, the fire from the north. So, on the morning of November 23rd, South Korean Marines on the island were doing a live fire drill, a pretty routine thing called the Hoguk exercise. Now, South Korea was very clear. They were firing their shells southwest, well away from North Korean territory. But for the north, that didn't matter one bit. At 8:20 that morning, the North sent this telegram, a direct warning. But, the South Korean military just kind of shrugged it off. They'd heard this kind of tough talk before. To them, it was a routine drill. To the North, it was a provocation. But was this really just a spontaneous reaction to the drill? This is the most chilling part. South Korean intelligence later confirmed that just one day before the attack, Kim Jong-il and his son, a very young Kim Jong-un, personally visited the exact artillery base that was about to open fire. So let's be clear, this wasn't a reaction. It was a performance. It was absolutely premeditated. At 2:34 p.m., 2.5 hours after the South's drill was over, the North unleashed hell. And for everyone on Yeonpyeong Island, the next 13 minutes were absolute hell. This was no warning shot. We're talking 170 shells in what's called a time-on-target barrage. That's a military tactic where multiple cannons fire in a way that all the shells land at the exact same second. It is designed for one thing and one thing only, maximum devastating destruction. And they aimed at both military and civilian areas. At that exact moment, Staff Sergeant Seo Jung-woo was down at the ferry terminal. He was just 22 years old, his military service was officially done, his bags were packed, the boat to take him back to his family was right there waiting. And then, the shells started to land. He saw black smoke pouring from his base. In that split second, he had a choice, safety or duty. He dropped his bag, he turned his back on the boat, and he ran toward the explosions, back to his comrades. And for the regular people in the village, it was just sheer terror. This was the first time since the Korean War that North Korea had deliberately aimed its artillery at a South Korean town. The power went out, people were grabbing their kids, running for their lives to concrete bunkers as their homes literally burned around them. But as the island burned, a terrifying question started to hang in the air. For 13 straight minutes, the only sounds were the explosions of incoming shells. 13 minutes. Why wasn't South Korea firing back? Well, the answer is just a cascade of catastrophic failures. The North's opening barrage was brutally effective. 2 of the South's 6 high-tech K9 howitzers were damaged right away. Their advanced electronics were just fried. A third jammed. And because of that drill they'd done in the morning, the ready ammunition racks were nearly empty. They were, for all intents and purposes, paralyzed. But they fought back. After 13 agonizing minutes, the Marines got their guns working the old-fashioned way, manually. They started firing back, and eventually they silenced the North's guns. The attack was over. And now, it was time to count the price of duty. And in all that chaos and destruction, two kinds of heroes emerged. You had the Marines, guys like Sergeant Seo, who ran toward the sound of the guns to do their duty. And then you had civilians, regular people, who showed the most incredible courage. See, there was a construction crew working on the Marine base that day. When the shells started falling, two of the older workers, Kim Chi-bak and Bae Buk-chol, they didn't just run for cover. They gathered 10 of their younger colleagues and led them to a shelter. They saved every single one of them. The next day, their bodies were found in the rubble. They were the first South Korean civilians to be killed in a direct northern attack since the armistice. The whole exchange lasted just 68 minutes, but it sent shockwaves across the globe. It was this brutal reminder that the line between a ceasefire and an all-out war can be terrifyingly thin. This was a ceasefire, not peace. In the end, 4 South Koreans lost their lives. 4 people, gone in just over an hour. And these are their names. Staff Sergeant Seo Jung-woo, the 22-year-old who ran back into the fight. Private First Class Moon Gwang-wook, who was only 20, killed in that first barrage. And the 2 civilian heroes, Kim Chi-bak and Bae Buk-chol. You know, for most of us, the Korean War is something from a history book in black and white. But this quote, it just says it all. For the people who live on that front line, on Yeonpyeong Island, the war is not history, it's geography. It's their reality, every single day. And so, what happened that day leaves all of us with a really unsettling question. When a war isn't actually over, but is just paused, with all that tension simmering right below the surface, how long can a ceasefire like that truly last?